It's Friday. Okay. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. All right. We are on section 4. Yesterday you should have made it to page 37 in your packet. You should have a book out and be turned to page 546. Before you go too far, let's go ahead and complete our daily activity. No current event for today. No current event. But we do have a daily activity, which is, what was the war guilt clause? You will find the answer on page 546 of your book, or you can wait a few minutes and I will explain it to you, and then you can revisit your daily activity and answer that learning target. Once you have all that completed, please make sure you have those handed in, and don't forget to put your name in period. All right, so hopefully you have paused and now you have unpaused. You are opened up to page 546, and you are also turned to page 37 in your packet. If you don't have everything done up until this point, you probably need to watch yesterday's video so you can get all caught up. All right, we're going to talk about the Treaty of Versailles. Basically, the big three, Clemenceau, David Lloyd George, and Woodrow Wilson met in Paris after the war to really figure out what was going to be done with the losing countries. They all had different expectations. Clemenceau and George had one idea of what they wanted to happen, and then Woodrow Wilson had another. So there was definitely going to have to be some compromise in regards to the treaty. The final peace settlement of Paris consisted of 5 separate treaties with the defeated nations of, and if you look on page 546, it tells you that those were the countries of Germany, Austria, Hungary, Bulgaria, and Turkey. So those were the countries that these treaties are going to deal with. Now, one of the parts of the Treaty of Versailles was the War Guilt Clause. The War Guilt Clause basically declared that Germany was responsible for starting the war. Why was Germany unhappy with the War Guilt Clause? Well, they didn't necessarily think that they were the main ones responsible for the war. Remember us talking about the beginning, Austria, Hungary, and Serbia. The Black Hand, a part of a terrorist group in Serbia, assassinated the Archduke Francis Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary. And Austria-Hungary would not have declared war on Serbia unless Germany would have actually gave them that blank check, the support that they needed. But Austria-Hungary was the first country to declare war on Serbia. Germany would not have declared war on Russia if Russia would have withdrew its troops. So there were a lot of different countries that played a pivotal role in the starting of the war, and Germany was unhappy with it because they didn't necessarily feel like they were the only ones responsible. Let's see here. We're going to talk more about the Treaty of Versailles here in just a few minutes. So, the legacies of war. The German and Russian empires are going to lose much of their empire, much of their land. It's going to disappear. You had a geography question not too long ago about comparing the maps on page 543 and which countries lost the most, and those are the two countries that are going to lose quite a bit of land. Self-determination. The principle of self-determination on page 547 basically is to use everything, your resources and people, for the war effort. Mandates. These basically are going to be a territory that is governed by another country temporarily. So there are going to be a lot of different mandates. because countries don't want to have the losing countries build their armies back up. So they're going to have mandates, and I'm not talking about a mandate. I'm talking about mandates. So a lot of the victorious countries are going to have mandates in some of the losing countries' areas. So they're just going to govern them on a temporary basis. Total war. Remember, a total war is using all your resources and people and effort to win the war. So very similar to self-determination. Feel free to just Google those words if you can't find them in the book. Section 4 review, questions 3 and 4. Let's see here. You can cross that off. You do not have to do the section 4 review.
Niagara Hancock to the counseling office, please. Niagara Hancock to the counseling office, please.
Can't they stop buzzing over the intercom? I'm trying to teach here, you know what I mean? All right, so let's talk about the Treaty of Versailles. What you're going to do is you are going to pull up the attachment 16-4 Treaty of Versailles, which is attached to the post. For each one of the blanks, and here is what the attachment looks like. For each one of the blanks, I want you to number and to put the answer on the back of page 38. So I'm going to read through this for you, and then for each one of the blanks, I want you to fill it in. So all you're going to do is fill in the blanks. You don't have to rewrite everything. So here it is. The Treaty of Versailles was signed June 28, 1919, and brought an end to World War I. So blank number 1 there, you should have number 1 and Treaty of Versailles next to it on page 38. Under that you should have number 2, and it should say an end to World War I. See how it's working? Next is 3, which is Germany. Germany was required to. Here are all the things Germany was required to do. They needed to abolish compulsory universal military service, which was basically get rid of the draft. Don't bother, I'm just talking to the computer. People think I'm weird for talking to myself. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is military service. They could no longer have a conscription or no more draft. So they could no longer draft soldiers in Germany. Let's see here. Reduce her army to 96,000 enlisted men and 4,000 officers. So that is 5 and 6. So 5 is reduce. 6 is 96,000. I'm no longer going to keep telling you which ones are which. You can figure it out. According to the Treaty of Versailles, she was going to have to demilitarize all territory on the left bank of the Rhine River, and also that on the right bank to the depth of 93 miles. Stop all importation, exportation, and nearly all production of war materials. Limit her navy to 6 battleships, 6 light cruisers, and 12 torpedo boats with no submarines because of remember the U-boats and unrestricted submarine warfare. The Navy personnel not to exceed 15,000 officers and men. Abolish all military and naval aviation. Give up her entire colonial empire. Give up about 13% of her country to France and some other countries. Pay reparations, $5 million $5 billion by 1921, plus Germans' foreign assets totaling $7 billion were confiscated. Build merchant ships for the Allies. Give up horses, cattle, sheep to the Allies. Now they had to give up horses, cattle, sheep to the Allies. No wonder Germany's so upset about this stuff. Now remember, a lot of these things are what's going to cause World War II. Supply coal to France and Italy. Agree to sign Article 231, the War Guilt Clause. where Germany accepted full responsibility and blame for the war. New nations were set up by the Treaty of Versailles. Let's see here, let me scroll down. These are all the countries that were created. These did not exist before World War I, and because of the treaty, these are all the countries that will now exist. You have Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, recreated Poland, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, Austria, Hungary. League of Nations was a peacekeeping organization that was created after World War I. The headquarters was in Geneva, Switzerland. The United States did not join the League of Nations. Germany and the Soviet Union were not allowed to join the League of Nations. The League of Nations ceased to exist in the 1930s. Senator Henry Cabot Lodge opposed joining the Treaty of Versailles. The Senate felt that the membership in the League of Nations would drag the United States into another war. So, that is basically the Treaty of Versailles. And if you read through that again, you'll see why Germany was so upset about all the things that they did and didn't have to do. All right, let's see here. Differing views of the Treaty of Versailles. Some are going to say that it's a great treaty. Some are going to say that it wasn't so great. And you know, I don't think we're actually going to talk about that today. I'm going to let you go ahead and get all caught up with everything. We're going to have a test Tuesday and Wednesday. It's going to be a 2-day test, which will give you plenty of time to get everything taken care of and to make up any work that you haven't completed. Before you leave today, make sure you hand in your daily activities and grab a study guide so that you can get started on that. Monday, we will have some activities and some review activities so that you are prepared for the test, which I think a lot of you already are. And I know we need to grade Section 3 still, and we'll have to grade Section 4, but we will get that done eventually. Maybe I'll have you hand those in, and I'll grade them myself, I'm not sure. All right, that's about all I got to say, so ain't nobody got time, ain't nobody got time, ain't nobody got time for that.